randomly recall this memory at times. I was so glad my parents taught us not to talk to strangers. I'm more thankful for my sister actually listening at the time. Back in the 90s, my two siblings and I were walking from our house towards our bus stop to go to school. For context, I was 7, my brother was 8, and my sister was almost 11. It was a foggy morning, and the walk was almost too quiet. We were the only ones in line of sight. We were a few streets away from the bus stop when a small white sedan pulled up next to us, slowly matching our pace. We looked over, slightly confused and curious, at a white woman with long curly brown hair in the driver's seat. She was staring at us intently. She was probably around 35 or 40 from the looks of her. This continued for a few seconds before she rolled down her window. She told us, "Hey kids, heading to school?" She had this weird smile and eyes that looked like they were looking through us. We nodded as it was obvious with our backpacks. She coaxed us with a wave. "Why don't you 3 hop in? I can take you all to school." I, of course, being 7 and lazy, was all about a free ride. "Sure," I said, smiling. My sister grabbed my arm tightly, so tightly it hurt me. "No thanks," my sister said sternly. The woman's smile seemed to fade and reappear in a fraction of a second. "Oh, it's fine, really. You don't have to walk. I can take you all quickly," she said, trying to sound kind. That's when I felt the hairs on my neck stand. "No," my sister said even more sternly. My brother looked scared, and I was confused and alarmed at his facial expression. The woman then turned the wheel and pulled closer to the curb towards us. We all stopped in our tracks out of fear. "Get in the car," she said as she stopped the car. Her smile vanished and was replaced with a toothy sneer. She was close enough that I could see her dark brown pits for eyes. I swear she glared at us with pure evil. That was it. My sister picked me up and yelled to my brother, "Run!" I don't know how, but she all of a sudden had Hulk-like strength. She and my brother started sprinting as fast as they could down the sidewalk. I clutched my sister tightly, screaming. They almost fell twice in the process. Thankfully, the car never turned around. Instead, it sped forward and turned down the street. We didn't stop running until we made it home. We locked all the doors and we were all sobbing. My mom and father were both working, so we couldn't contact them until they came home. And that was it. If it wasn't for my sister, I would have been kidnapped. And who knows what could have happened. This happened about 10 years ago in an area between Seattle and Tacoma, Washington. My friend, we'll call him R, and I used to regularly go to Tacoma to sing karaoke at a bar there. To be honest, I don't think I've ever seen the city of Tacoma during the day. Anyways, it was around 1 or 2 in the morning, and we were heading back to Seattle, and we have to stop for gas. He pulls over at this station and I'm buzzed, feeling good, so this creepy situation didn't even register with me. As I was sitting, messing with the radio, suddenly my door swings open. I only saw a flash of someone because it was blindingly quick, but he was kinda medium height, dark-skinned, and had a blank stare and tattered clothing. I remember he had a jacket on too, like leather or something, but it was torn and woolly. So there I was, trying to pull the door closed, and I'm realizing this man is very strong. He almost won the tug-of-war with me, trying to slam the door closed. If my adrenaline hadn't kicked in, I don't know. I finally do manage to get it closed after maybe only a few seconds, and immediately start looking around for my friend, panicked and confused. R has already been yelling at the guy to get away from his car. Surprisingly, the guy listens. R isn't the most intimidating looking guy or anything, but maybe the guy didn't want to cause a scene. I don't recall there being anything else happening outside the gas station with us that night. But R was being very loud and forceful. So I'm watching this guy walk away, and he's not looking back at us or making a sound that I can hear, which made what made this entire thing more unusual. R gets back in the car and he's unusually calm, like when you see something terrible but you're too scared to move. I look to see where he's looking, and he's looking at the creepy guy who is now facing us, with that same emotionless stare, just watching us leave the pump and back towards the street. My eyes are on him the entire time. We book it out of there, and that was the end of that. In 2017, I had heard news of people dressing up as clowns and running around with knives at night. I typically brush those things off because I got my own problems. I was often up all hours of the night dealing with my screaming newborn. It was around January or February, so we still had some snow, and I wasn't able to get out of the house often. Taking out the trash, which is located right out the back door, was usually the most I got of fresh air. One morning, I took out the trash and happened to glance over to the right and noticed footprints directly under the window to my baby's room. I walked over to inspect, and not only were there footprints, but there were also hand indentations on the window screen. Weird, but baby slept in my room, so not very concerning at the moment. Fast forward a couple of days and I was up around 3 a.m. and I heard not exactly what I would call screaming, but more of a screeching howl. We have lots of stray cats, so I kinda thought that's what it was and ignored it. Once the sun was up, I looked out the window and noticed a few sets of footprints. That didn't seem to make sense because it kinda looked like someone had just been passing in between the houses. But again, I blow it off because we had a drug house across the street, and we had people before that would cross over to get to that house. Maybe 4 nights later, again at 3 a.m., I hear a dragging noise against the house, and from where I was sitting on the couch, I could see the back door. The back door has a window with blinds on it, and it doesn't seal well due to the wood rot on the frame. I paused the TV and just listened to hear, and I heard it again, but this time directly at the back door. Looking over, I can clearly see a looming figure just standing on the window, holding one of those big kitchen knives, and granted, the blinds were shut, so I'm seeing a creepy shadow version of this. He runs the knife across the window panes before softly knocking. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out what to do with a newborn, latched on because my phone is in the bedroom, and something in me doesn't want whoever this was out of my vision. So I stand up and readjust because I really didn't want a screaming baby right now, and walk into my kitchen and flick on the light, and then said, just loud enough for him to hear me, "Hey, I already called the police, and I'm sure you don't want to deal with them, so why don't you just go home?" I don't know why I talked to him so calm and normal, but I don't think he was expecting anyone to say anything because he froze at the moment I began talking. He talked it over with himself for a minute and started down towards the alleyway. Never had anything like that happen again.